Yes.
Yeah, I think I'll be alright. Dylan, you better stand there. Right. Lovely. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen. A micro speech just first, for a couple of thank yous, and then on to the macro. So the micro speech is just to say a huge thank you to Jane Oliver for hosting, and to my parents for helping us put all this together. And so we need to do that.
Make this amazing food.
Eco has left, but she's brilliant, and we will be asking Eco to do the wedding. So, now to the macro, which I warn you, settle in, it's about 10 minutes, so keep sitting down. Ladies and gentlemen, as I embark on that wobbly walk from the sprightly tennis court of middle age down the players' tunnel towards the fusty locker room of my later years, I've begun to be assailed by some of the symptoms of reaching 50. One such symptom, I gather not uncommon in men of my age, is the need to visit the lavatory frequently in the middle of the night, after which it can be hard to get back to sleep. During these periods, when I teeter precariously on the brink of sleep, I'm often visited by random memories of the past half-century. Like that time in 1982, during the height of the Falklands War, when I phoned my piano teacher, late one spring evening from my student house in Leeds, in a heightened state of anxiety that national service was going to be reinstated, that I was going to be called up to fight. Why my piano teacher emails? Well, he seemed the right person to ask at the time. I also recall dipping my toes into the churning seas of student romance. On one occasion, I had a first date, possibly my first ever, I don't know, at Leeds Playhouse, to which the young lady concerned, for some reason I couldn't figure out, felt she needed to bring along some moral support. She brought along not one, but 7 of her that happened, actually. I'm still recovering. Another abiding memory is the night I left a bag of washing in a phone box outside the university, sparking a bomb scare. This caused the main entrance to be closed for the rest of the evening. Remember the IRA? Remember red phone boxes? And the more these memories keep on assailing me at random, the more I realise how most of you, if not all of you in this room, have been a part of them. For instance, I remember my father teaching me the alphabet on a cliff walk in Trevone, when I must have been very young indeed. I remember stretching out on the floor in front of my beloved mother, circa 1966, when she was hoovering and asking her mummy, "Do you think I'm tall for 4?" I remember my grandmother, Nanan, teaching me table tennis, and my grandfather, Papa, teaching me how to cut a pack of cards with one hand. I do also remember happily sharing a bath with my sister Anna when we were both a lot younger. I would add that there may be considerable practical and logistical difficulties, not least the threat of a visit from social services, involved in trying to reconstruct that particular memory just at the moment. I recall my brother Steve doing his brilliant impressions of Sir Robin Day in the playground at Queen's Primary School. I also remember going on a brisk country walk with Steve and Barbara in North Yorkshire.
Oh, yes.
And Barbara vigorously outpacing me despite being 8 months pregnant. And such good times around at my Uncle Chris and Auntie Jean's house in Barnet, sumptuous meals, and being slaughtered by Uncle Chris at table tennis in the attic. And to my cousins, Gareth, David and Mark, I'd like to say how lovely it is that you are here, and how we should all really see more of each other in the next 50 years. On to my university folk who are here. I do recall particularly tearing around Nottingham in 1984 at around 70 miles per hour on quiet B roads with Anna Nicholas, and a life-sized bear called Hector staring at a life-sized dog called Hector staring at us from the back seat of the car. And I also recall a pivotal meal in Pizza Hut, Enfield Town, when both Anna and I were in our late 20s, and Anna effectively ordering me to complete my PhD. And thanks to that conversation, I did indeed complete it.
Oh, there you
Oh,
the Iron Lady over there.
And I remember wonderful curries in East Finchley with our host today, Jane. And also, I will just say, Jane and I, in our past years of our friendship, have some really wonderful rows. That make me feel alive. And I can never forget Bill and Paul's excellent adventure during the late 1980s. Trips to the cinema almost once a week, and very few turkeys amongst them. Except Distant Voices Still Alive, Bill? Yes, you remember that one, yes. And then there are times I spent around the age of 11 with David Guthrie, my dear friend David, who's here from Oxford today. Whilst other boys our age were out playing sports or beating each other up in the park, David and I led a more rarefied existence, discussing the comparative merits of Mozart piano concerti and performing avant-garde musical compositions in the back garden of number 28, Ravensdale. And from my long sojourn at the BBC, I do recall the big-hearted Jessie and the generous, spirited and beautiful Jessie bringing in delicious sweets and biscuits day after day. Lunches with my inspirational friend and boss, Matt MacDonald, who was my last employer at the BBC. And our working relationship over 4 years was so successful that at the end of it we were both redundant. I remember Kate encouraging me with real insight into the real me, thank you Kate, to break out of the library system in the BBC and branch out into all matters internet. And fantastic times with Zilla, who also sadly isn't here today. But I do remember long evenings in East Finchley with Dylan, who is here today with his wife Carol, and Dylan taught me everything I know about computers. So if you've got a computer I fixed recently, you know who to blame. Then there is Gary Rainbird. Gary, if you had been a woman, I would have married you. I do rather suspect there were times during our restless trips around Tesco's together in the early 2000s that we might have been taken for a gay couple. Gary, I have such fond memories of our completely pointless Saturday afternoon drives around the North Circular. Now you have Ruth and I have Rella. I suspect you're glad to be shot at. But you can still allow me those fond memories. Ah yes, did I hear the mention of the name Rella? And then there was, is and forever will be Rella. This wonderful, witty, beautiful, intuitive lady who is the love of my life. And as you probably know, for reasons best known only to herself, she agreed to marry me in 2009. Well, so assuming I don't crash the car too often, and I keep the house tidy, and continue to hold down a steady table tennis bat, we'll be seeing some, if not all of you, at the wedding, whenever that may be. We've absolutely no idea.
Very good.